Hello, welcome to this class. In this tutorial, we'll be talking about the layers panel. The layers panel is located at the right bottom hand side of in Photoshop. So if you have your Photoshop open, you're going to see a layer panel. You can easily locate where I am by on my mouse. You can see that there is a yellow highlight pointer on my mouse. So the layers panel is located at the bottom right hand side of Photoshop, and it consists of some buttons and some other things, functions are being applied so that you can make use of it. So in this course, you can see that I have a file opened already. So if you have this file, or if you have access to the link to the file, go ahead and open it. In the Photoshop layer panel, the first thing you can see is that we have a layer filter, okay? And this layer filter has several toggle modes, which you can see from the points of my mouse. Like for example, this one here is filtered by image, this one filtered by style, filtered by text, and many more. You can also see that this layer filter shows that you can filter by kind, by name, by effect, and it has a toggle button to turn it on and turn it off. What are we trying to say? Okay, if you check the example file, you see that I already have some files which are already included. Now, for me to test out this filter, for example, I will toggle by name. It asks me to search in the name. If I type in rectangle, you can see that this layer filter allows you to, maybe you have a lot of files opened. You can easily filter it based on a search term or based on the kind you have. For example, if you turn this on, you can easily see that the layers have adjusted to text. Okay, you click it back to turn it back on. Now, when you bring in an image in Photoshop by going to File, Open, or if you create a new file, the file will be labeled Background, and you're going to see a button here showing that it is locked. From my image description here, you see that this button here indicates locked. For you to unlock it, you just have to click on that lock button, and the layer is going to be unlocked automatically. Now, every layer you bring in Photoshop is being named sequentially. What do I mean? If you come down here to this plus button, which is labeled create a new layer, and click it, you see that this new layer is titled layer 1. For every subscription layer you bring up, it's being labeled sequentially. You can see that this other layer I clicked again is titled layer 2. Now let's go in. The next thing you can see here is what we call blend mode. Okay, this blend mode is just trying to indicate that okay, we have several blending options. For example, if we bring this image under the blue here, now I've selected the blue. Make sure your auto select button is turned on in Photoshop. You can see where my mouse is. Make sure it is marked. I've selected the blue. Look at this here. I've selected the blue. If you come here to blend mode and change it to this of darken, look at this. You can easily look at what happens when you decide to turn on the blend mode. Okay, the blend mode allow you to, it makes a little adjustment based on the colors which are on Photoshop. Blend mode, you can see that this is bringing on a violet color, right? But it's just based on blending. I didn't even create a new color. Now, when you bring up an image, you have this option which you call visibility. For example, I can decide to turn off this image by clicking this visibility button. The visibility button tends to make an image or a document in Photoshop to be visible or invisible. The next thing you see here is the thumbnail icon. For everything you bring in Photoshop, Photoshop tends to generate a thumbnail to showcase the element which you have on your layer. For example, here, this T signifies that this is a text, and this also shows that is an image. Okay, what more can you do? For example, you can use these options buttons in the layers panel to link a layer. For you to do that, you need to select more than one layer. If you hold down your shift key button and select layer 1 or layer 2 which was created during the class, you can click this link button to link them together. Once you link two layers together, whatever adjustment you make will be added to both of them at the same time. For you to unlink it, go ahead and click back the link button. Okay, now we still have several options. For example, we have the style option. The FS option is used to add additional styles to a background or an image in Photoshop. For example, you can see that on this image called rectangle 1, 2, you have something we call an FX. It means that a style has been added to it. How do you add style in the layer panel? Go ahead and select rectangle 1 and double click. When you double click it, an FX panel will come up. Okay, then you can go ahead and select this bevel emboss and add a bevel emboss to it. Now you can see that rectangle 1 and rectangle 2 have bevel emboss added to them. If you go back to your filter panel and say filter by effect, you can see that based on this filter we added, he filtered it based on the bevel emboss and turned off all other layers automatically, so that we can only see what's going on with our FX layer and create more space in our layer panel. Go ahead and turn it back to kind. Okay, what other options do we have? We have the layer mask. In the layer mask is used to do special adjustment or effect in Photoshop, and to do that you just need to click this layer mask button, which will add an additional thumbnail and show you the mask option in the properties panel. What else do you have? Bringing in files in Photoshop, you also have options to bring in what we call smart object. Smart object is being brought in, for example, when you drag in an additional image to this layer. To do that, you can go ahead and pick an image. For example, I've dragged in one and turned it off here. If you turn it on, you will see that I already placed in an image. You understand? And if you look at the icon beside the image, you can see that it's a smart object. Other options you have is you can create a folder. For example, this set of text, I want to group them. All I need to do is select both text by holding the shift key and clicking on them and press the group button. Photoshop will automatically group them sequentially. Okay, now if you want to delete anything in Photoshop, make sure they are not locked and make sure they are not linked. All you have to do is drag it from the layer panel to the delete button here and they will be deleted. The last thing I would like to talk about is what we call opacity. Okay, now if you go here to opacity, turn down the opacity of this red, okay, and turn it back on, you see that the amount of color or the visible light on it is being turned down. If you select this blue, which have the difference, and change it back to normal, now turn down the fill You see that the fill also, when you turn down the fill, is turning down the amount of color on the image. Now, you are excited about Photoshop. In the next class, we'll be talking about the tools one by one. Thank you.